You are listening to episode 128 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. Yes, we are back, and we're going to talk some AEW, possibly the worst WrestleMania card ever. It kind of is. How Carlos was right, even though none of you got to hear it. And also, additional randomness. And on top of that, I may make a reference to a late 90s rock and roll band who's fit perfectly into a live stream that I may have done recently. That and more on this episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. That, my friends, is what we call a tease. I'm Carlos. That's Dave.
You gotta love the late '90s bands, whatever it is. That is now the thing I'm looking forward to the most of this entire podcast.
But that's the best part. Is before we start this, I usually talk out with Dave some of the stuff we're going to talk about. But then I always throw something in during the intro that Dave did not know I was going to do.
It's true.
That's
part
because
of the beauty of this podcast.
And that's because I'm Carlos. That's what I see what I did there.
And he has a sign that says that. He also has a podcast that's called that, and a YouTube channel. Check it. Yes. And an Instagram page. It's right there. There.
The struggle is real.
Whatever.
The struggle is real. Anyway, for the directionally challenged, Dave struggled at every corner of the screen.
Yeah,
anyway,
never actually pointed in the right direction.
No, you literally did not successfully point in the right direction one time. It was actually very impressive.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah. So anyway, so we'll talk about a little bit of that. I'll give that a little bit of story time. So in our absence, anything going on in your side of the world?
It's been busy. I went to Disney World. Mm-hmm. So that was a couple weeks ago, and I went to Great Wolf Lodge last week. It's kind of been nuts in terms of this. So this week I was very happy to not go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Not to say that those places weren't fun. They were. It was great. Some good family time and all that jazz. But when with little kids, they tire you out. So it's nice to have a weekend at home, even though the kids are still here. It's nice to have a weekend at home, and also obviously nice to be back on the podcast. But in terms of that, other than going away and meeting the mouse, same old.
Fair enough. So I introduce, for anybody who checks out the video version, I explained it to Dave earlier, and I've done this on my live stream already previously. I have introduced the bright shining light of the content gods that is shining upon me as we speak, improving my lighting situation. So it makes the overall presentation just a little bit better. However, all that said, speaking of the live stream, I had the chance to talk about a couple of different things. And as far as, I won't bore you with all the gory details, but there was a content creator on there that basically decided to create their own little drama for themselves. Long story short, they basically went to a card show and they left someone in charge of their table, and the person sold a card off their table, which is all well and good, except they didn't price their stuff properly. I'm giving you guys the really short version, and then I'll explain how.
The initial person didn't price it properly, or the person
the dealer didn't price it properly.
Okay.
Which is to say, they actually forgot to put a price sticker on it, but they had other stickers on there that were actually for the population of the card because it was a graded card, and then also they had like an inventory control number which they use for their own purposes, which is all well and good, except you need to make sure you tell the person that you're leaving in charge of the table while you're away. You need to make sure they understand what it is they're looking at, or you tell them, hey, don't sell anything without letting me know. If somebody's interested in something and really wants to buy it, give me a call. There's there's protocol that you can follow that makes things really simple. And I've been there enough times at enough card shows where I have been watching tables, and my question is always, do you price all your stuff? Yep. So if somebody really wants to buy something, I'm gonna offer them only sticker price. I'm not gonna knock any off of it because I'm not gonna negotiate on your card. So usually we have that brief conversation. Yep, no problem, sounds good. Never had an issue, never had a problem. However, if you don't do that, there's always the possibility that a person may misinterpret the information on there and ask for a lower amount than you would have wanted. So in this case, the person saw a number that was $1,375. They assumed it was $1,375, which is a decent amount of money, but they actually sold a $7,000 card for $1,375. Now, that sucks. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. However,
do you know what card it was?
It was a PSA 10 Michael Jordan. It was one of the late 90s Chrome cards. So the basketball cards have gone up quite a bit. It is a reasonably rare card. It is a very popular card, an easily sellable card to some of the Jordan collectors. And it is about $6 or $7 grand, I guess, depending on the recent comps and stuff. So obviously not a cheap card, and it's a very unfortunate, you're about $5 grand out. It's an unfortunate mistake. However, this person decided not to accept this mistake. They decided instead to go on social media, because they have a social media following, and basically ask people to, if they know who bought this card, to ask them to come back, and they would like the person to return the card, implying almost that it was stolen. It's like, no, they paid for it. They didn't pay what you wanted them to pay for it, but that's your mistake.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, it's not cool. As far as I'm concerned, the deal is the deal. Sucks to be so this is the thing. Sucks to be you. Does that one ring a bell at all?
It does.
Yeah. So
all right.
1998, Prozzak. That's where the musical reference came in. I was like, I was educating a few of my American associates. Like, there's a song that covers this, a small hit in Canada in the late '90s, little song called "Sucks to Be You" by Prozzak. That's my response to that. Sucks to be you.
Did they know the song?
No, absolutely not. But then I sent them a link to it, and they're like, "What am I watching?" You are watching my answer to this. I know.
I know.
That's right. So it was perfect. I got to bring in a Prozac reference, and then one of the people in the chat is Canadian and got it. Goes, I didn't think I'd be hearing about Prozac today. It's like, exactly. This is what I do. This is how I roll. I bring these things in. So there's your late '90s, pop rock reference. But yeah, I got to have a little bit of fun with that. So that was that with the live stream. Very successful live stream.
So this person was on your live stream?
No. We were commenting on it because we had a similar discussion on it. Let's put it this way. Last night's live.
So how did you first hear of the story?
Oh, I first heard the story because I'm on social media. I have them on Instagram.
So you follow that content creator.
I saw the first post and I was like, okay. So I kept an eye on it and I watched the updates. And then the person, after all the thing went down, gave their side of the story on their Instagram. And there's more to it. It makes it even murkier and shadier. However, the bottom line was the first post should have never happened. As soon as you screwed up, deal with it, suck it up. Well, this person got lambasted within a lot of circles with the seller because it's like, look, man, you screwed up, deal with it. Just accept it and move on with your life. But they didn't accept it, and then they got lambasted for it, and we'll see if it carries any forward. But I did have fun because in the live stream this week, I decided I chose violence, Dave. I'm always like,
yes, you're such a peaceful person to begin with, Carlos.
I know, but I especially chose violence. Like I was already predisposed to violence because I was very tired yesterday. And then I had to go and basically we had like a team lunch. So for the first time in a year, I've actually met some of the folks I work with there.
Are you back at the office now?
No. This was a team lunch. It's still work from home as much as you want. But I was sitting there like, but I go all the way there and then go all the way back. So I'm like, that I'm already kind of annoyed. So I basically lost most of a day. And then I was trying to finish some stuff. And then on top of everything else, I was sitting there like, and I had it rescheduled. I actually was supposed to basically follow up and keep an eye on. I'll give you guys a short version. They were updating a security certificate on the application I work on. Okay. They needed somebody on the team to basically confirm and make sure the stuff's working. Basically, make sure you can get back into the site because after they switch this out, it could break things. So you got to make sure it's working properly. The problem is they're doing this at 9 p.m. So I actually started the live stream with my laptop in front of me, keeping an eye on it because as soon as they ping me, then I got to go check the site. So I started everything, got everything underway, and I did my work. And got on a conference call, left them to their own devices for a little bit, came back and did the live stream and I was still working at 9 p.m. So Carlos is extra ornery, and then on top of it, he's extra ornery. And because I'm doing the conference call and everything, I can't even have my beer. So Carlos is predisposed already to choose. He's not choosing violence; he's choosing world war. At that point, it's like, all right, well now y'all are gonna get it. And Dave, this person wasn't the only person to get it. I took on Dr. Beckett. I made fun of him. I made fun of several other companies in the space. I trashed this person, that person. There were a couple of content creators who were both being wusses. I called them both out. Dave, no one was safe from my wrath.
I like it.
It was effectively a 5-hour roast.
Sweet.
It's like I was in rare form, Dave. You would have enjoyed it. It's like is Carlos literally just gonna roast people?
Podcast, though, won't it?
No.
No,
the audio, I don't bother with the audio version anymore. Not for the long live streams. It's pointless.
Okay.
Because half the fun with that one more than anything else, those live streams, Dave, are performance art to be seen. If I'm going to put something on the screen, you need to see it. If you were to see the smirk on my face as I'm about to trash a fool, you need to see that. You can't hear that.
Fair enough.
You lose out. It's like, don't worry, YouTube lets people.
Someone who teaches theater, like I get that. I get the performance art aspect of things.
Could you imagine if you're like sitting there? It's like, why is it quiet? It's like everyone's just staring at me, waiting for what I'm about to say. You don't get that in audio.
It's true.
You can't build a mounting suspense. Plus, there was $1 Million Man cameo. There might have been $1 Million Man cackling cameo.
Ooh.
Like I told you, I was in rare form. I brought it all.
Anytime the $1 Million Man is involved, it's probably solid, right?
Yeah. So there you go. So now you guys get a sense of like, it's like this is why I've got my coffee going right now. I brought it all, Dave. I brought it all. Anyway, okay. So let's get into a little business. So,
hold on, don't you have something random you need to
that's
show?
That's
okay.
Literally what I'm about to do.
Gotcha. Quick, just make sure.
Okay. So Dave sent over a package. So I did receive it and I opened it up. So do you want to set it up? I've got it right here. I can just
No,
put it
I
here.
did. You just go.
Okay.
And
So we got two 8x10s. Interesting photograph references for both. You got championship belts on both folks. I think it's intercontinental belts in both cases. Just double checking here.
no, I think
Okay.
is it one a championship belt, like an
They're both
NWA
they're both
championship?
they're both championship
No,
belts.
but no, isn't like NWA championship or something or
Well,
AWA
that's
or
probably so. Okay, so we got Greg the Hammer Valentine. So we got that going on. So you got a belt
Yep.
there. Now let me double check here. I was just taking a look. I'm not sure if it's NWA or not. I know this. I know I've seen this belt before. Maybe it is. Maybe it is National Wrestling Alliance. But regardless, I have seen that belt for sure before. So we got that going on. Now, question. I assume this is from a signing that you participated in.
it is from basically I had got something that I'd ordered, and it took forever to get here.
Mm-hmm.
So as part of a mea culpa for it taking so long, there were some extras thrown in.
Okay, gotcha. And the second one is Tito Santana wearing the Intercontinental belt. So we got that going on.
It's a nice
And the
belt. I
nice
like that
yellow.
belt.
The yellow is a good move in the dark area. It actually stands out. It pops quite nicely. So very good. And actually,
And
like,
he's got the Ariba on his shirt. Let's also point that out too.
he does have that. That's true. And I think I actually had this was a toss in on an eBay thing I received a little while ago.
Nice.
There you go, little Tito Santana card to go along with thing. By the way, with the sombrero because reasons.
Well, why not, right?
Yeah. So there you go. So Greg the Hammer Halftime to Tito Santana. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Bit random, but very interesting.
Well, I thought I was you know what, when you have things and you're like, you know, I have do I have it handy? Hold on a second. If it's not too, because I did not prepare for this, so if I have to actually really look for it, I'm not going to. Is it in here still? No.
So while Dave is rummaging, I grabbed one more thing because it was part of my stuff today. So we're on fire today. Okay, so that went from
Yes. So my Greg the Hammer Valentine was this one.
Oh, okay, and you're drawing. Yep, got it.
So so when that came in, I was like, who do I feel would appreciate this the most? And the answer was Carlos, and therefore I sent them off to you.
No, that's fair. Sounds good. Yeah, I've been on fire. Speaking of, and I'll talk about that. Actually, I may as well talk about that now because then once we get into the other segments, it'll make more sense. I've been on absolute fire picking up a lot of the wrestling cards.
Mm-hmm.
So even today, I included the super factors. So we got the Buddy Murphy super factor going on there. So this is where the light helps a little bit because I can get a little bit of an angle on it just to give you guys a bit of a sense. These are actually very cool. So these are one of ones.
Like, you know, it's basically if you put it in a certain angle, you see it very nicely, and if you go on the other angle, we get blinded.
Yep. So yeah, they got those little swirls, this pattern. Panini actually uses a similar thing called they call them vinyls. It's the same technology. It's the same kind of foil. Very interesting though. They're kind of cool. But that is a one of one to go along with it. So if I decide to do a rainbow, I have the toughest one. So the other ones should be more readily available. But I've been stockpiling. It's been a lot of fun stuff picking up some of these things, building quite a nice little collection of some different stuff going on. I got some more William Regals in, so that was fun. That's been on the Instagram. Yep. So I got 3 different William Regal refractor autographs. So I may have a mini rainbow of that going.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we'll see if I finish that, but I've got most of the tough ones, so that's good. But overall, it's going to be interesting because one of the things I'm being cognizant of is that since I do have a little bit of a following on that Instagram thing, on Instagram, but as well as the YouTube site, it was a discussion point during the live stream, is that I'm interested in what happens, what the threshold is because some folks really get paranoid about this. They worry about people pumping up the market, which is to say like, oh, well, you're just promoting it so that you can sell it and make more money. It's like, well, not exactly, because I'm buying it because I like the stuff. But if other people see it and go, oh, that's kind of cool, I want one of those, well, then naturally that's going to reduce the supply, which naturally is going to push up the price. So it's almost like, so you don't want anybody to talk about anything they like, because the second they do, there's a possibility that some people may go like, oh, actually, I want one of those too. And if it's already limited, it becomes even harder to pick them up, and therefore the price does this.
Yeah.
So it's a weird balance because some people do that. Some people will use their influence to promote something and really talk it up so that you can get people to go after it, and that raises the price whilst they have a pile of them sitting right here, ready to pounce the moment that price reaches a nice number they like. So it is a danger, but it's one of those things that just accusing everybody of it willy-nilly is not exactly responsible, if that makes sense. So there's a balance because I went and I looked in my ship my cards thing, and I have about 50 lots of stuff that I've got piled up right now. Probably 45 of them are wrestling, Dave. My next mail day is going to be like wrestling. So you want some wrestling? Because I got some wrestling. And then there's more wrestling. And how about some more shiny wrestling? Would you like some wrestling, Dave?
Here's a refractor. You get a refractor. You get a refractor. You get a refractor.
Dude, I even have a rock. Brace yourselves. I got shiny rock. It's coming. Before the show is over, I will show shiny rock. I don't have it in hand, but I'll show you a picture. But anyway, and then we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But for now, let me quickly, before we get to WrestleMania, let me quickly explain why I was so right, and then we'll come back to the rest of the AEW. I want to get us up to date.
All right.
So the specific thing I wanted to chat about was the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match. Long story short, the match was okay. I had a feeling it wouldn't be great because right now they have struggled with the ring chemistry. Thunder Rosa to me is still struggling in ring. Like, I don't know what's going on with it. She's had a bunch of matches in a row with different opponents that are like, okay, it's fine. Her reaction is strong. She does get a great reaction. And to be clear, from what we said weeks ago, she is the right person to be champion right now. The momentum was riding with her. Britt Baker needed a breather to get off of that because, there's only so much you can do when saturation. The problem is that Britt Baker's title reign was not booked well. But the strength of her character work was so good that she was able to maintain a good reaction. She was still able to be people reacting to her and booing her, but none of her feuds really clicked. The only one she sort of had something going with is Thunder Rosa, but like I said, at the end, it kind of petered out a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, the Revolution was not the right venue to do that title change. You would not have gotten a fraction of the reaction. Having it in Thunder Rosa's adopted state got a huge reaction when she won. The cage match was the right stipulation to end this segment of the feud.
That was good.
Yeah,
it was very underwhelming. I felt like my word to describe it would be underwhelming.
Yeah, but I felt like we were actually trending in that direction because the last couple of matches I had seen, the chemistry hasn't been there. Like I haven't seen much chemistry with any opponent with Thunder Rosa yet, and Britt Baker is struggling a little bit with it. So we're gonna see if they're able to fix some of that. I'll talk about some more with that. But quickly, I did take some notes at it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a video about it standalone. I would have done it. But there's a couple points here that I want to hit on. So one of the things I didn't like, and I mentioned it, is that big chair spot where Britt Baker set up like a million chairs. Yeah. The problem is it took too damn long.
Exactly. It really killed the pacing of that match.
Yeah. And the other thing though is that actually that would hurt. The problem is it doesn't look like it hurts nearly as much as you've basically got like a flat thing and you're landing right on it and then flipping over it. But the problem is because you fell from such a relatively small distance, it doesn't look like it. There's no impact there. It doesn't feel like it. Even though, trust me, if I push you onto that thing, even from a small distance, ow, actually my back, that's not great.
Yeah, I think that's part of like a trend though too in a lot of wrestling right now is that, you have this, and it's something that bugs me, but you have this high spot or that we've talked about the finishing moves, how people do the finishing move and then it's like just kick out, right? Like you have this amazing high spot and they kick out at one. It's like, why'd you do that?
Yeah, I think the goal.
Right? Like, what do you gain? What does this match gain from that chair angle? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what I said. Here's the thing: you could have done the chair angle, but that should be right near the end. That should be basically the setup to the end. If you insist on it, the match should ensue after. Because if that is the thing that then leads her into being dazed, and then boom, Thunder Rosa hits a big move, her finisher.
Absolutely.
The match ends. I can totally justify that.
For sure. I could. Yeah, exactly. But that's not what happened.
Yeah. And then they did the thumbtacks
thing. Let's get the thumbtacks because reasons.
But again, if the thumbtacks is directly the end, like immediately, the first time that Britt Baker falls on the thumbtacks, 1, 2, 3, okay. But the problem is that you kept going. It's just like you negated a lot of the impact. You used everything you had, and people are kicking out of this stuff, and the pinfall isn't happening, and you're negating a lot of. The thumbtack needs to be the finish, or the chairs needs to be the finish, and when it happens, the match needs to end. It's like at that moment, right after that, it needs to end.
Yeah.
You can't keep dragging it out because it wrecks a lot of what's going on. That's why I say I think they still need to work on their match structure. Somebody who is one of the agents that's working with them, they need to fix that structure because there is a way to do this match. We can actually eliminate some elements of it and actually make it a better match. For sure. And we can still have the chair thing if you want to do it. You want to do the chair thing? Cool. Let's do the chair thing. Then we'll skip on the thumbtacks, or we'll do the thumbtacks and we won't do the chair thing. Pick one. Don't use both. Pick one, and then you get a little bit more in there. But yeah, and one other thing that I want to mention here, the referee bump was actually a bit excessive. I got a kick out of it. It was silly, but it was too much. They worked too hard on that one. The end result. So my point here is, and I made bullet point notes on this. I said there's the right crowd for this, the right result, but now puts things in. So this is my point here. Makes an interesting next act, as there aren't many obvious opponents for Thunder Rosa. Now I jotted all this down, and so I don't know if you can see that there. Look at that.
Yep, I see.
There were a lot of damn
I
notes.
cannot read it, but I see there's
Yeah.
a lot.
Okay, so basically, I put in some guesses here. So I said my initial guess for next opponents are Thunder Rosa. So this was on March the 16th when I made my guess. I said either Mercedes Martinez in a lazy move or Nyla Rose. It was so easy. But there's a specific reason why I said this. I said, even though I'm not sure what would precipitate the specific feud, but if they go that route, I recommend making sure they're clear that they are fighting for what they're fighting for beyond the title. So you got to come up with something. And I would have the feud last at least 2 matches with some skirmishes in between. So we'll see if they do that. That would be my recommendation. You can't have run through opponents too soon. But the problem is, and this was the issue I was having, at the same time, Britt Baker should probably be best served to get a breather off TV. My point was there aren't enough heel opponents. Because right now, going through the roster, like if you go through the roster quickly, I'm not seeing who your heel opponents are going to be. And that was the issue that I was seeing, and that I'm like, I'm looking through that roster. The Bunny's not a legit opponent. She's a gatekeeper. She's like, for new people to come in, that's who the Bunny's for. Penelope Ford, that's who it's for. Pirate Julia Hart isn't ready. It's not the time. Sorry,
It would be so good, Carlos.
It would not
if
be
she was ready.
It would not be good. Now is not the time.
If she was ready, I'm saying.
Yeah, so I put in the question. I said, okay, maybe a heel Statlander. So if she's starting to go a little bit heelish, that could work. I could work with that.
I could give you, I'll give you that. Plus, she's also been getting a lot better too.
I agree, but the point is, like, I'm looking. Remember, at this moment, this is now a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to rack my brain, trying to think, because then I was looking at Forbidden Door possibilities. That's one angle I threw in there. You could cheat your way through. My point is, the problem with Britt Baker's title reign wasn't Britt Baker. The problem is there was no well carved out path. She needed opponents, but she needed correctly sequenced opponents. It's not just having an opponent. You need to have you know who would be the most logical person for Thunder Rosa to compete with? Serena Deeb, but she's busy. Serena Deeb would be great for her. Nyla Rose makes perfect sense because she wasn't doing anything else at that moment. And she is a heel, and she's an established heel who has been champion before, so she has some credibility. But after Nyla Rose, maybe Serena Deeb? Maybe.
Yeah, if you can book it over there to make it make sense, right?
But that's why I said, like, Nyla Rose, you need to keep that feud going for like a month and a half. You need some time to allow you to then set up your next person. That's why I said if there was a heel Statlander, that could at least be interesting. But you have to establish.
Or she could just feud against God a la Miro.
That is a fact. But the bottom line is, even if you try to bring in somebody new, and obviously we'll talk in a little bit when we get to the rest of the AEW piece, Tony Storm came in. And great, that helps that division. But Tony Storm's a face. You bring in Ember Moon, she'd be a face. So I was again wrapping my brain. It's like, okay, so who do you got?
You could book Ember Moon as a heel, I think.
I'm sure, but like it would be a stretch because at first she would get cheered. And again, you're shoehorning in like a match. You need to figure out. Thunder Rosa needs a reason to feud with. It's like, oh, Ember Moon. It's like, sorry, Athena. It would be Athena at that point. It's like, oh, Athena hates Thunder Rosa. Why? Like, she just showed up. What's the animosity over? Like, you have to give me something here. Nyla Rose can just be a jerk. There you go. There's a reason. She's already established that she can do that. So that actually works. A heel Statlander or something could work. Mm-hmm. The thought I had was a Taya Valkyrie could make sense because she does her best stuff as a heel. That could work. You could do that. If you wanted to try a little Forbidden Door thing, you could look at something like Camille from NWA because they've done some work there before. And Camille is the NWA Women's Champion, and Thunder Rosa was the NWA Women's Champion. So you actually have a little bit of line of success. By the way, Serena Deeb was also an NWA Women's Champion. So you could sequence them so that you've got like these challengers that actually have a little bit of an indirect connection. Right. And they were the 3 last NWA Women's Champions, including the current one. So like there's actually a line of succession here. There's a little bit of a logic to it. Or if you did Forbidden Door, Deonna Purrazzo would be really good. She's got 2 belts already. So she could be like, the idea here being that she's decided she wants to collect belts. And it's like, all right, I want yours too. That would make sense. And she's a heel. So like, the point is you can do it. But if you notice, I'm reaching outside of the AEW roster because I'm struggling to figure out who you have on your roster as a heel who feels legit. The only other one you have left is Jade. And she's got the other title.
What about Jamie Hayter?
Jamie Hayter, you could set up, but she needs to get some wins, that high-profile wins to set her up as somebody. that could challenge for that title. Because to me, Jamie Hayter is much closer to being in the TBS championship run. Like it would make infinitely more sense for her to compete for that.
Yeah.
And the problem is all your other people, Ruby Soho, face, I go through the rest of that roster. It's like, Red Velvet, she's not on that level. She should be competing for a TBS championship. So like I said, go through the women's roster. It's like,
yeah, that's true. When you do, it's actually kind of depressing when you do this, Carlos.
yeah, but I'm being logical about this. And the thing is, you can get them to that level. My point is, you're not going to be able to snap your finger and get them there this week or next week or a month from now. You actually need to, set them up. Jamie Hayter? Sure. That's why I say Nyla Rose needs to be feuding with her, in my opinion, for a month or two to give you a buffer.
Yeah.
If Jamie Hayter suddenly starts running off big wins on Dynamite and Rampage, have her showcased on TV running through some people, then great. You could build her up. And in a month and a half from now, Jamie Hayter could show up and go, I want that belt. Sure. Mm-hmm. But you need to do that then. You need to establish her as a monster who's rolling through some people. And then, but Nyla Rose needs to be your bridge. You need to kill time in between. That's why I say, go through the rest of the roster. Who else you got? Sheeta? Sheeta's a face. Riho. We're struggling here. And at least Sheeta's a former champion. At least Riho's a former champion. But I don't see how this is going to work as a pairing. That's why I say, they better be careful because Thunder Rosa is the right champion right now. You're going to improve that division. You're adding more elements to it. Good. Even if you brought in Tegan Nox, again, face. So it's like, I don't have anybody for you, Thunder Rosa. Who are you competing with?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got to be careful because they don't have enough heels right now, or at least credible heels. The Bunny has lost too many times. Penelope Ford has lost too many times. They're not credible as heels to challenge for the top title. So it's like, okay, guys, you're going to have to think through this one a little bit. Look through that roster and find who you think can actually be a good, effective heel and start establishing them very quickly. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, you don't have anybody on that level. Because otherwise, again, the only person who's over as a heel is Jade. Yeah. Okay, so she won that title. Now she's going for the world championship? Really? Is that what you want to go with? I don't think so. Not right now.
No, you've got a booking issue here.
Correct. And there is ways out of it, but you have to get real creative. That's why my opinion is use the Forbidden Door thing as a crutch to get you across the line. You need to buy time to set up. You need to identify some women on that roster in your roster that you want to position for that and start getting them on TV running through some people. And you need to do it as quickly as possible to establish them so that in 2 months' time or 3 months' time, they can show up in front of Thunder Rosa as like, oh, yeah, she's been winning matches on TV the last couple of months all over. She's like 8-0 in the last, she's been killing some people. Perfect. That's what you want. It's simple, but you got to actually you got to put them on TV. We got to see them winning these matches convincingly. That's why I say Serena Deeb would be good, but she's got to get out her feud with Sheeta. That's the only way you can do it. But again, then after Serena Deeb, who you got? So I can buy 3 or 4 months. I can get you 3 or 4 months down the road with 2 opponents, but then I need somebody after that.
Yeah.
I kind of like the heel Statlander thing. I think that could be cool. And if you establish it and you take my idea, I've given you 4 months to make her a monster heel. And then you can have Jamie Hayter after that if you want. And by that point, she should be ready. So actually, I could get you 4 or 5 opponents down the road and maybe get you 7 or 8 months down the road.
It's just that first step, really.
This one is going to be critical. The Nyla Rose one needs to be executed well. They need to give them time. You can't have one match and then blow it off. You got to give, it's got to stretch, give you more time. That way Serena Deeb can get out from under what she's doing right now. And you're going to have the Owen Hart Cup and you're going to have some other women probably come in. But I'm saying get Diana Perazzo in there. See if she'll come in and do some show. You can buy yourself.
And it's not like they haven't worked with other promotions before.
That's what I mean.
Right?
Think about it this way.
That's totally beyond a feasible option, I think.
Yeah, I think champion versus champion. You could totally sell that at one of those TV specials. I think that could be a fun little diversion to get you a little bit further down the line. And you're giving Thunder Rosa wins against nice opponents along the way. It'll help build her championship much better. Down the road, one of these heels will take it from her. But give them some. You got to give Thunder Rosa a little time. But you need That's why I said the Britt Baker problem wasn't that she didn't have opponents, is that you didn't build any of them to look credible. So she kept beating them, and it's like, okay, who's next? Yeah. Okay, who's next? You're just killing time.
For sure.
So it's a lesson that needs to be learned. Okay. So you want to do the worst WrestleMania card ever?
That's kind of what I think it is.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. Because realistically, if you look at the matches, right, and we have talked about this a little bit before. We don't need to go into too much because it's happening right now as we record. But I thought, Carlos, and I would like your take on this. So here's like some of the matches that we're going to see. Okay?
Very good.
Pat McAfee versus Johnny Knoxville. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
it's no. You're
That's not,
Sami
no,
Zayn.
it's Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. Who cares?
Pat McAfee versus Johnny Knoxville would be more interesting.
Well, it would. Okay. Who's Johnny Knoxville facing?
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. Then you have The Miz and is it Logan Paul?
I think it's Logan Paul. Yeah.
It's somebody Paul, right? One of those people. Logan Paul, right? It's just like all these. Let's put in some celebrities, and it's all just garbage. Like realistically, okay, Brock versus Roman should be good, but how many times do we need to see that match?
Yeah.
Right. The chances of the best match is probably going to be, in my opinion, Edge versus AJ Styles.
Okay.
But
I think the problem though is don't forget it's a 2-night WrestleMania. Edge versus AJ Styles will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I've got the card. I think the tentative card. Again, it's subject to change, right?
So as we discuss this, I would like to do this. I would like to bring this back. It's quick,
Go ahead.
but I want to introduce the latest installment of Dave made a list. Carlos makes shit up. My list here is wrestling matches that could be at WrestleMania that are better than what is currently taking place. Okay. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left listed. First one, and now granted, obviously this would require some kind of build-up. I'm just talking about the match. I'm not talking about current storyline.
As a standalone. Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre.
Yep. You could 100% have done that, yeah.
Okay. Ricochet versus Seth Rollins instead of Seth Rollins versus mystery opponent.
Cody Rhodes.
Which is probably going to be Cody Rhodes.
By the way, that'll still be a disappointment.
But I really hope it isn't.
That would actually be funnier.
Just to fuck with people.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch instead of versus Charlotte.
Yeah, that was the logical one. Everybody wanted that one, but yeah.
Okay. Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks.
That would be entertaining from the background perspective. I don't know if current Alexa Bliss though would work. Like in her current iteration, if she reverted back to her previous persona, probably. And I think Sasha Banks would probably be more interested in that than what they're actually doing. But go ahead.
Veer Mahan versus Jinder Mahal.
Veer Mahan versus Jinder Mahal. I would have done Veer Mahan versus Shane McMahon and see if they hurt each other.
Oh, that'd be okay too.
That'd be funny.
And last, Kevin Owens in an actual match.
Yeah. It's not like you don't have people that you can have on there. But yeah, it's another opportunity missed. It really is.
Right? Because like Stone Cold's going to get a huge pop when he comes out tonight.
Yeah.
No doubt. But you know what I mean? Like if you're trying to sell the card, right? Because they didn't sell out.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't think it did because there were still like there were lots of ads I got on my Instagram feeds and things for tickets this week.
There was no chance that they would sell out both nights because they were never configured to do that.
Well, it's also what is
Please
it? 100 and how many thousand people?
It's 100. It'd be approximately 100,000 for each night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put a Kevin Owens card on there.
Is this one you bought?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Like it's Kevin Owens autograph shocking wins. That's when he defeated John Cena when he was the NXT champion. And he defeated John Cena, United States champion, and didn't win the belt because at the time, storyline, he decided it was beneath him to challenge for the belt, where it would have made more sense for him to have 2 belts, heaven forbid. A precursor to questionable booking. He got a great win against, by the way, he got a clean win against John Cena, which in theory is like, oh my God. At the time, that was still a big deal. It's like, all these years later, he's been champion, yes. But now he is in a talking segment with Stone Cold where he'll get stunnered, and have beer poured on him. And that's his big WrestleMania moment. By the way, I think that's supposed to be the last thing on night 1.
Yes.
That's our main event.
Yeah. Now remember, but Carlos, don't forget, this is the most stupendous WrestleMania ever.
Yeah. Somebody bought Vince's thesaurus.
Like, just literally garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, obviously, I think some things will probably end up being better than expected. But overall, like nothing on this. There's no match on here that I look at and go, I'm gonna buy a ticket because of that match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think you're doing that's just They should be better than that, Carlos.
Yeah. So I've got the actual card here in front of me. I'll quickly give some quick thoughts, and if there's anything you want to add, feel free. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it real quick here. So we got the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boobs. Who cares?
Exactly.
It's for the tag team championship, but who cares? Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair. Really, who cares? I expect Bianca Belair to win. I already explained why this is relevant. Bianca Belair is shit. Oh, but Carlos, she's good. No, I'm saying she is been booked like shit. WWE has told me she's shit. She will win this title, but Becky Lynch already beat her in under 30 seconds. We already established this. We talked about this. She beat her clean as a whistle in less than 30 seconds. So this is irrelevant. I don't care. I don't care if Bianca Belair wins in 30 seconds. She's not going to. That match is going to last a little time. But who cares? Becky Lynch already beat her easily without any problem.
Yeah.
It's like you just need to give it back to her to like as a make good. It's like Bianca Belair's diminished. She's not what she was prior to you doing that. But anyway. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul. No one cares. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss. Who cares? Twice. The New Day. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston because Big E almost died. Versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch.
Who cares?
Really, who cares? Seth freaking Rollins versus to be announced. Vince McMahon will announce Rollins' opponent on the night of the event. By the way, if it is Cody Rhodes, I'm going to point out that Vince McMahon announcing them makes no sense. Is that supposed to be a reward? A punishment? If it's a punishment, why? If it's a reward, why?
That's true.
If it's just to fill in time, why? Like, I actually don't understand. Like, there is no scenario in which Cody Rhodes being here for this actually makes it any better. Like, it literally is pointless. He could have just shown up and waved to the crowd and it would have been about the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, you may as well not be involved.
And I imagine Seth Rollins is going to beat him.
Well, here's the thing. No, you could make an argument that no matter what, it's the wrong answer. If Seth Rollins beats him, it's like, you brought the guy in. This is your big thing. You're like, ooh, Cody Rhodes. He's Stardust. And then Seth Rollins beats him. Or, ooh, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins been doing some good work, but it's like, you bring Cody Rhodes to beat him. Okay, cool. So now what? No, literally, now what?
Yeah.
They have a rematch? Like, do I care? I didn't care about the first one. Why would I care about a rematch? Anyway, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey, singles match for the women's championship. Like I said, I believe for night one, from what I understand, it's supposed to be the Austin and Kevin Owens will be the actual main event, not a wrestling match, an actual talking segment. So woo. So that's night one. Here's night two. Again, tentative, subject to be changed. Blah blah blah. All right, Queen Zelina and Carmella versus Sasha Banks and Naomi, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, Natalya and Shayna Baszler in a fatal four-way tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Yawn.
Exactly.
Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn in an anything goes match. Lord knows. Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. These are literally listed back to back. If they actually put them back to back, that would be death. That will actually kill the crowd. You will destroy them. This will be the worst. RK Bro versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. So you have a fatal four-way the night before, and now you have a triple threat for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship. Another multi-person tag for the championship.
Let's get rid of some of these multi-person matches, please.
Edge versus AJ Styles. Who cares? Bobby Lashley versus Omos. Who cares twice? You put Bobby Lashley in Omos. You know what? I have a great idea. Let's do this. Let's do the fatal four-way tag team for the women's championship that's irrelevant. Then we'll do Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn. Then we'll do Pat McAfee and Austin Theory. And you know what? I say put Bobby Lashley in Omos. We can have 4 straight matches that literally make the audience want to pull their hair out. So they leave the building by the time we get to the main event. I want to test your endurance, WWE Universe. I want to give you so much shit you want to leave. But you paid for this. That's what I want.
And you paid a lot of money for this.
Yes, that's why I want it. This is all I want, Dave. I want it to be this. Or, better yet, if I was WWE, I would really test their patience. I would put Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns on first. And then if you stay, you're watching the rest of this shit for no reason. Oh,
that would be funny.
The main event of WrestleMania Night 2 should be Bobby Lashley versus Omos. The most stupendous WrestleMania of all time.
Yeah, there's nothing stupendous about this at all.
It's trash. It's actual trash.
Right? Like, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm sure there will be some good matches. I don't think there's going to be a lot of them, but I would think that you're going to have a handful of matches, and by handful, I mean less than 5, for this entire card that are good or decent to good.
But let me append that, Dave. I will do you one better. I agree with you. However, let me do you one better. I think no one will remember any of them. Not a single person will remember one match from this 2 weeks from now. There will not be a memorable WrestleMania match here. Not one. Not on this list. On 2 nights of thing. WrestleMania historically was always the, hey, do you remember WrestleMania 18? The Rock and Hogan. Yes, I do. Do you remember WrestleMania 19? The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin when the main event one final time where Austin retired initially. WrestleMania 19 is when he retired. We're at 38. But people remember that match. They remember a couple matches of WrestleMania 20 and some of the other ones here and there. Through the years, there have been matches that have been memorable and stand the test of time. Which one of these stands the test of time? Which one of these makes it to next month?
Yeah.
I will forget every single one of these matches in 2 weeks. Even Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, they've actually already done this.
Well, exactly. That's
Like,
the thing, right?
This
Like,
is
how many times do we need to see this match?
Like,
will they give us a good? Will it probably be a good match? Yeah, probably.
yeah.
But who cares?
And the thing is, you've got, again, I picked on a bunch of these matches, but like the women's title matches, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey, the match will be fine. Ronda Rousey's pretty decent in the ring. If she's got the rust off, she'll be fine. Charlotte Flair is solid when she wants to be, when she's motivated, and I'm sure she'll be motivated for this. But don't remember this match. I expect Ronda Rousey to win, but who cares? He's not going to main anything in a week. We'll move on to the next feud. Whatever. Let's move on next. Next one underneath. What's it called? Friggin', I lost it already. Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair. They actually put both the women's title matches on the same night. So, you have Becky Lynch. So one will overwhelm the other. One of them will be better than the other, and that one will get a little more plug. But Bianca Belair wins. Okay, Bianca Belair wins the title. Congratulations. She'll be on to her feud next show. Who cares?
Yeah. And then what do you do with Becky Lynch?
She'll console Seth Rollins after his defeat at the hands of Hornswoggle or whatever Vince McMahon announces.
Could you imagine?
I can. It's Vince. It's like, I'm sending my son, Hornswoggle. Everybody thought it was Shane. Hornswoggle.
Honestly, see, this is the problem with it. Like, this is more fun. Pretending that it's, not going to be Cody Rhodes and the possibilities of who it could be is way more fun than who it will end up being.
That's WWE's problem in a nutshell. Is that we have had so long speculating on the Cody Rhodes thing. Cody Rhodes coming out would actually be a disappointment. It would actually be disappointing. I'm like, don't do it.
I think there's a lot of WWE fans who are going to be like, it's Cody Rhodes, right? And then
no WWE fans are going to be like, it's Cody Rhodes. They're going to be like, it's Stardust.
Fair enough.
Like, he was a jobber when he left. He's not a star in WWE. It doesn't matter how you promote him. He's not a star. Yeah, he's not a star.
Yeah, but I feel that there's I don't know this for sure because I don't talk to people in circles like this enough. But I feel that the thought process out there is that he left AEW to go to WWE, and that's a big deal.
It would have been immediately after. It would have been the contract runs out, you roll him into the show, and then he shows up right after doing a match. He rolls into Monday Night Raw or SmackDown and comes in and challenges somebody like days after. Or if there's some kind of element of surprise that's still up in the air, we don't know if he's re-signing or not, and then he shows up on Raw or SmackDown, then yes. A month later, after we've been pitched a million scenarios, there is not. He could come out and demand to be included in the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns match as a triple threat and walk out with the WWE Championship, and it'll be a 7 out of 10. Not because, by the way, the crowd be confused, perplexed, but at least that would be shocking. At least be like, really? You got Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and we give the title to Stardust? I mean Cody Rhodes? So at least that would be shocking. It would surprise people, and then he could come out, swaggering in with his new championship going, I beat both your guys. They both suck. That would at least be fun. But anything they're going to do here is like a tremendous. He's facing, if they have him here, he's going to be facing Seth Rollins some rando match at WrestleMania. Who cares? Like a month and a half later, oh my God, it's Cody Rhodes. Woo!
Well,
that'll show AEW. Woo! They moved on without him, and the next show was really good. They didn't need Cody Rhodes.
It's true. And I mean, well, it's the same. It's like anything. It's just like people. But I think people. I don't know. I think you're not giving enough credit that people are. That people will be excited for it because it's like, oh, it happened, but then like 2 weeks later, it's like, who? That's
Yeah,
what I think is gonna happen.
yeah. My point is that I don't think it even lasts 2 weeks. I think it might last 2 minutes. he might get a lukewarm reception by the time he gets to the ring. All right, I'm over it. Let's move on.
Yeah, but I feel the initial pop. Well, it's not gonna be huge, but the initial pop will be good, and then, oh yeah, now we remember this guy when he left. Like, because right, like his booking before he left wasn't like stupendous.
Yeah. And even in his AEW, to be clear, he had a slot in the show every week. But to be clear, he was an AEW world champion. He operated in kind of his own Codyverse pocket. He was treated very well. Like they actually protected him pretty well in that little Codyverse pocket. But anybody who came in and out of the Codyverse pocket, they participate in some stuff with him, have some matches, have a feud, and then move on to other things. Like his pocket was like almost a separate pseudo universe. It was like a spin-off of AEW. It wasn't even like actually part of the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like it's like what are you taking? Like literally, if Roman Reigns was cut today and AEW put Roman Reigns on the show, people would flip out. If they got Brock Lesnar somehow, people would flip out. If they got John Cena to show up on the show or The Rock to show up on the show, people would freak out. Cody Rhodes shows up, they're like, okay, that's cool. And are you bringing somebody else with you? Do you have anybody else? If you got Kenny Omega, I'd be kind of impressed. Like, at least Kenny Omega is more associated with that. Cody Rhodes was already in WWE. It's not like you stole.
Well,
If you get MJF, you get one of the AEW originals who's actually there, really associated with AEW first and foremost. Okay, but you got Cody, and truth is, he could go to WWE and then eventually end up back on AEW, and then maybe go to WWE one more time. He's just a dude who can flip flop back and forth.
yeah.
Like it's don't sleep on the possibility that he could have a run in WWE and then end up back on AEW at some point. That's what I mean. Like, it's not as big a deal as it sounds, and he can have his own Codyverse again. Just sit in a pocket somewhere. All right, cool. Have fun.
Well, yeah, it's not like he was super popular. I mean, he was.
He got reactions. He got reactions. He got reactions. That's what I mean.
Sure.
Like, I can't act like he's this multi-time world champion who was face of the company for this entire time. Like, he wasn't.
No.
He was a prominent featured player. He was part of the mix. But I'll put it this way. Here's the equivalent that I would give you. It would be like AEW getting Kevin Owens right now. Would it be nice? Yeah. Is it like the game changer? No, it's not. Or AJ Styles. AJ Styles is tremendous, but he's also in his 40s and like he can put on some great matches. But is it a big deal right this second? Like right now? No, not really. Or Finn Balor? Cool. Okay. Great. And we can find stuff for him to do. But it's not like you're not going to flip. Oh my God, Finn Balor's here. Choose the channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the same. I'm not trying to diminish it, but I'm just trying to be like, let's put it in proper context because now we've had enough time to the initial shock.
I don't know
gone.
at this point though who's going to do that for AEW. You know what I mean? Like who?
It would pretty much be John Cena or The Rock. If John Cena randomly showed up on Dynamite, people would be like, "The fuck you doing here?" Or The Rock, he goes, "I just decided to show up. I'm The Rock. I can do whatever I want." That'd be great.
That'd be pretty cool.
But
yeah,
people
pretty
react
much.
to that. That's what
Pretty much though, right? Like nobody else. Like I mean, you know, there other people are good. It is what it is, right? Like, you know, like I enjoy, for example, like Keith Lee. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoy Keith Lee for what he is.
And I think booked properly, Keith Lee could work. You got to remember, all these people we're talking about, most of them are wrestling stars. The Rock or John Cena are guys who are now establishing themselves or established as operating outside of WWE successfully in their respective
But
entities.
I would never see either of those people ever doing any wrestling in another company.
I understand, but I'm saying your question was who
Yeah,
would be a
but I
big
agree with
enough
you.
name
I
to
agree
move
with you.
to actually get like, oh, because that would be John Cena or The Rock showing up on AEW Dynamite. That would be shock worthy. That would
No,
get
for sure.
attention outside of the normal channels.
You know, the only thing that really did that with AEW is CM Punk.
Yeah.
And then, but how long did that last for? Right.
But I've said it to you before, Dave. if you want long-term sustaining impact, like nobody can do that for either company. You could get Jesus Christ to show up to finally challenge this McMahon to avenge God. And it's not going to work. It'll draw a rating for a week. And then we'll get used to it. And then it'll be 50-50 booking with Vince and Jesus. Then we're back to normal.
Pretty much. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah. So like those days of getting that super long sustained reaction are not, but you can build them. You could have a moment, but again, it would require a very specific outcome. Very specific. It's got to be someone who transcends, even Roman Reigns. And this is, I had this discussion when people were talking about the cards. Some of those Roman Reigns super fractors and stuff are starting to sell for big money. You know, the equivalent, the Roman Reigns equivalent of this would be thousands of dollars now. These are starting to really go crazy for that. But what do you think a super fractor of The Rock would go for? The Rock is on another tier.
Yeah.
Like Roman Reigns
when's the last time he wrestled? What year?
Oh, it's been years now. Like a regular match, like a real match.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last time he wrestled a real match was the second one with John Cena,
which was what 2015.
It's been a long time. I'll see if I can find it. In the meantime, so worst WrestleMania ever. We're all in agreement. Is there anything AEW wise you want to touch on before we get to the NFL thing at the end?
No, I don't think so, because like there's nothing like noteworthy to me or shocking. Otherwise, we already talked about Thunder Rosa.
Yep.
So I think we're good.
All right, sounds fair. So let me quickly zip through. See, this is what happens. I get too passionate making fun of WWE. I have losing track of some of my eBay auctions. I gotta start putting on my phone, make my life easier. It's fine. I've been stockpiling enough stuff. A couple more, it's not gonna make too much of a difference. Anyway, okay. So let me see if I can find this wrestling database. I think is the one I want. So this is a good resource if people aren't aware. Wrestling database. I want to say, Pro Fight DB. That's the one we want. So let's look up The Rock, and we'll see. I will tell you. All right, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Last match. Okay. So at WrestleMania 32, he had like a fake match, really. And that was with Eric Rowan, where he beat him in like 4 seconds. The last one before that was John Cena. Yeah. So it was the second John Cena match. That was WrestleMania 29. That's 2013.
Yeah.
Like we're going on 9 years.
Because that's when he's in that he defeated Punk for the championship at Royal Rumble that year.
Elimination Chamber.
Okay.
Yeah. So but it was that one. Yeah. So he won that one in February and then lost it to John Cena in April and to us April 2013. And that is the last time that The Rock wrestled a real, we'll say, match.
Right.
And then the idea here, I guess, is supposedly to set up Roman Reigns and The Rock for next year's WrestleMania when The Rock will be 457 years old. I may be off by a little bit, but that's approximately what it is. I'm like, seems like a bad idea. Seems like, and I'm sure the movie studio is like, yeah, could you not do that? Maybe you can have Roman Reigns interview you, and then you can rock bottom him.
That would be cool.
but
the other thing is like people now talking about right that next year WrestleMania is in LA at SoFi, right?
Yeah.
And The Rock is going to face Roman Reigns, and oh my God, and it's like, are you really excited about a 50-year-old? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, The Rock is in phenomenal shape, and but really, like a both possibly past their prime match. Like this match the time for this match is past.
Yeah,
please don't give it to us.
Yeah, if you tried maybe about 4 years ago, you probably could have pulled it off 4 years ago ish. But that's why I say, like, they keep getting these big long gaps for some of these folks. I was like, guys, there's a difference between wrestling shape. The Rock is actually too big now to be a wrestler normally. The last time he faced John Cena, he hurt himself because there's a gap there between that Eric Rowan thing was basically like a couple of punches in a rock bottom. And that was 3 years after the John Cena one.
Yeah.
So he took 3 years off because I think he hurt his pectoral muscle. Like, he literally got hurt during that John Cena match. And John Cena's pretty safe. Like, he's actually very, very efficient over the years. Like, he hasn't never had too many issues with hurting people. And The Rock still got hurt. And that was 9 years ago when he was 9 years younger. You think it's going to get better?
Yeah.
That match might last 5 minutes if you do it. Like, I don't think it's going to be this good, long, sustain. I don't think it's going to be a great classic match. It's like, and honestly, again, if I'm the movie studio, I'm like, yeah, no, we don't have insurance for that. You got a bunch more action movies to do, so you're busy. Sorry. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I just don't think. I don't think trying to pitch that for WrestleMania 39, almost 40, I don't think that's a great idea. But hey,
I don't either.
yeah. So fair enough. I think that's good. All right. Anything in the NFL stuff you want to touch on?
You know what? Honestly, it's just so much craziness that's gone on, right? Like the quarterbacking cares. Like Matt Ryan is now with Indianapolis.
Yep.
Is that correct?
He
Like
is an Indianapolis Colt.
what? How about Andy Dalton signing with the Saints, Carlos?
Your new starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, no, man, Youngo King's still there.
The Red Rifle.
One day he will actually prove you right, Carlos. Maybe. See? Justice for the Youngo King? Question mark.
The question mark is the key. The question mark is the key. Will we ever get it?
Who knows? You
Hey,
know,
maybe
Tom Brady comes back and then the coach decides he's not going to coach anymore.
maybe the solution is Jameis Winston needs to up his value. He needs to get that respect from the organization. So I think I've cracked the code, Dave. I think I've solved it. Envision it, if you will.
All right, I got already.
Jameis Winston, Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 39.
It's better than some of what they have now.
But we need to relocate WrestleMania 39 to New Orleans.
Yes.
And all of a sudden the crowd is like, "You are the Young Goat King." Done. Fixed it.
But Carlos, just so you know, in a move that surprises no one, the Usos defeated Nakamura and Boogs.
Dang. I had so much hope.
But here's a question for you, Carlos.
Does the question involve Samoa Joe showing up at Ring of Honor? Because that was great.
No, it doesn't. But that is pretty cool.
Yep.
No, here's my question for you, Carlos, on an NFL, since we're ending with this, and there's been so much change and whatnot. What do you think happens to Baker Mayfield?
He took some Roman Reigns for WrestleMania 39 with Jameson three-way. I just putting this on the screen while I'm saying this. By the way, that's 9 out of 10.
I like it.
Samoa Joe. Loving it. Okay. Anyway, so I will stop that. Okay. What happens with Baker Mayfield? Okay. Right now he is not a lot of options. I really think, I think if Cleveland really does want to get rid of him, I think they're really going to have to just accept basically whatever anybody will give. The problem is, the issue that I have is destinations. I'm trying to think like, who's shitty enough to need Baker Mayfield? Because that's basically what we're talking about. Who's shitty enough to Baker Mayfield, or desperate enough? You pretty much need to be shitty or desperate. And that's Tennessee, the Jets. Like, we're looking at the dregs here, Dave. Like, we got to scrape the bottom of the barrel over here.
That's what I mean, right?
Like, it's not anybody good. You know what would be great for the content, though? You know what I would enjoy? Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Compete with Trevor Lawrence, Baker, because you do so well with adversity.
But yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen because I just don't. I don't know. This is the thing. I don't think there is a logical destination for him.
Well, there is for me. Tampa Bay. Baker and Brady feuding. It's like all of a sudden, boom. It's like, why are you two? It's like in a steel cage for the starting job on Monday Night Raw. I tune in for that one.
I think that would cause me to tune into.
It's like I'd be compelled. It's like
hey,
feel
Carlos,
like I can tune into this.
Speaking of Raw, most importantly, April 4th, Raw, Veer Mahan.
Yes, that is true. I'm really hoping that, like, you know, what would be the greatest moment in like Raw history, aside from what I just described, the cage match.
I don't think you get much better than that.
Look, Vince, I'm giving you this easy. I don't even like you, but I'm gonna give you the easy. What you need in the main event is Baker and Brady steel cage main event, but in the middle of the show, right around the midpoint, somewhere. First hour break, second hour break, somewhere in there, just before you're about to go to the third hour, second hour, you bring out Veer Mahan. The big moment has arrived. Veer Mahan comes out and like looks menacing and beardy because he's got a very strong beard. That's what we're gonna go with, beardy.
It's not wrong. You're not.
That's
wrong.
all he's got. Of course, I'm not wrong. I am Carlos. I am right on these.
Jack too. He's pretty.
Sure, but let's be clear. The beard.
Please tell me there's gonna be some baseball angle here. There's gonna be $1 million arm angle here.
All I'm trying to say is he comes out being all beardy. Yep. Jack pumped, doing it. Okay, and then all of a sudden, that's when you hear the glass break, and after not the glass break. That's when you hear the thing. You hear the music. Cody Rhodes comes out and hits him with a sledgehammer. It's like your first feud is Veer Mahan.
Yeah.
Veer
I
Mahan.
don't know. Hey, I was hoping. You know what? I hope it works out for Veer because clearly the baseball didn't. So
So would it be better if I had Veer Mahan versus another equivalent talent? Omas!
why not?
Yeah, Omas. Colonel Aziz. I think it's Colonel Aziz.
Yeah, it is
One
Colonel
of the
Aziz.
tall guy. Uh, who else we got? What other shitty person we got there? He could fight Reggie for the 24/7 championship. I don't think he
Fight
has it. It
our
might
truth.
be.
Why don't we fight our truth? Because he's not.
Our truth would squash him. Our truth, like, after all those years, our truth comes out all serious, and all of a sudden he's Ron the Truth Killings. He's not even our truth right now. He's like, he comes out, he's like all badass, and he's like, kills this guy in like 10 seconds, just pins him and walks away. He goes, and after they're like, our truth, what happened to you out there? He goes, I wasn't laying down for that guy. He just walks away. He goes, it's beneath him. It is beneath our truth to deal with Veer Mahan. It's like sorry, bearded man.
To be fair,
Not good enough.
Carlos, I believe it was recently at house shows. I don't know how many, but our truth was actually getting beaten up by Veer Mahan. So
Is that true?
yeah, that is a true story.
I've done it again. I have channeled the universe, and once again, through me, the conduit, I have seen the future, Dave. Dave,
Kind of, but in reverse with the
Nope.
opposite thing.
when we get to the real show on TV, our truth destroys this man,
That's possible. I mean,
demolishes this man.
anything can happen at a house show because it doesn't matter.
All of a sudden, it is our truth is the ultimate warrior, and Veer Mahan is the honky tonk man. This is not competitive. This is like, boom, you're dead. Kill this man.
I wonder
Dave?
how many people that listen to this will get that reference.
The light, the shining light of the content gods has once again blessed me with the ability to see the future.
There you go, man.
That was a random name I threw out there. That just makes it better. If it comes to pass, by the way, I totally called that.
All right,
Just to be clear, I totally called that.
we will we'll tell the people at a later episode.
There you go. All right, perfect. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm good.
I think we're good, Carlos. I will throw this out because it's not an official one, but you'll appreciate this story real quick, okay? So Canada made the World Cup. All right, first time in 36 years. All right, the draw this week was yesterday. It was horrible. There's so much we could make fun of, but we're not going to because Carlos didn't watch it, nor does Carlos really care. But I will put it this way: there are 4 pots. Okay, so like the best teams are in pot 1, the worst teams based on ranking are in pot 4. Okay, Canada missed out on being in pot 3 because they lost to Panama.
Are they really called pots?
Yeah,
They should have sent in the guys from BC. They're good with pot.
they are. But anyway, I just thought you would appreciate that tidbit of information.
Interesting.
Could have been in pot 3 if only we'd beaten Panama. I gave it to you on a silver platter, Carlos.
And that's the most enthusiasm I can muster for it. So, I gave it the flag wave. I waved the flag.
You did?
That's from the consulate. That's directly from Panama. There you go. So I think that's it. A lot of good stuff, a lot of ground covered. I got to make fun of a lot of things and come up with a lot of much better matches than the garbage they're getting delivered. Quick note though I'll make as well. I was a fan of the whole. I want to check out a little bit more information about the whole Super Card of Honor because Samoa Joe did make his debut, and therefore Samoa Joe is now all elite, which is fun. I think I don't need him to have him in a bunch of matches and stuff, but it's cool. I think it's cool that he's like he's another good wrestling mind, and if he can contribute anything to right now, I'm liking. This is where I'm hoping Tony Khan is getting the vibe that I'm setting. It's like, dude, you've got William Regal, you've got Samoa Joe, you got a bunch of guys who actually do work in the back at WWE. It's like you could build an amazing group of lieutenants to really help flesh out some of the stuff you're doing. Good wrestling minds who know what they're doing, who can also perform and do things for you out there in the microphone and in the ring if you really want them to. But otherwise, like you could build an amazing brain trust of some really smart people in the business and really flesh out some of these angles that are missing some meat. Like there's a lot of good possibilities on. I like the roster they've built, and I like the possibilities of some of the people they could get to fill out some of the pieces. Right now, you've got a player for almost every position, and you've got utility players that can move all around the field, so to speak, in this metaphor. I'm like, now you just got to figure out how to use them. How do you want to position these people? I gave you that example with the women's roster. Look, you can still get by on what you got right now, but you got to flesh this out and really plan this out strategically. There is a path to use the people you have effectively to have a great title reign for Thunder Rosa that then leads into the next great title reign, that leads into the next great title reign, and you could make this work. But you got to be really careful. And down the road, I expect Britt Baker will be back in that picture, but you got to space it out so that she gets her time a little bit later. And her second run should be even better than her first. And that's a real possibility with the roster you're building. And the same thing with the men's championship. What happens next after Hangman Page? Maybe Punk gets the title in the next while. Maybe Adam Cole gets it as an intermediate champion, interim somewhere in between. You could have a bunch of great guys have the title, but they all got to have a purpose, and there's got to be a sequencing.
Yeah.
The initial sequencing was really good, but now we got to keep going. The next 3 or 4 champions are going to be crucial to the direction you want to go with it. Plus, I need the Trios Championship, man. I got so many good Trios teams. True. I want to see the House of Black have the Trios Championship with Pirate Julia Hart backing them. Let's go. Just saying, let's go.
One day, Carlos. One day.
You never know. I got dreams, Dave. I got big dreams. House of Black. Let's go. All right. So on that bombshell, we'll call it a day on this one. We'll be back with more questionable insight, questionable content, questionable everything else. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. And in the spirit of the way that this week has gone, in the spirit of the enthusiasm, the passion, so passionate, so jacked and pumped coming out of the gate, Dave, I forgot to hit the button. And you forgot to remind me. So for those of you on video, iTunes, Spotify, audio things, just watch the fucking YouTube. Okay? Just watch the YouTube. That'll be the title of this. Just watch the YouTube. All right. That is episode 128 of the Necessary Nonsense Podcast. For me and Dave, Dave will keep drawing things and watching pretentious cross-country running, no one cares. Otherwise, we will be avoiding the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. On that note, we'll catch you in the next one.